Hey, welcome to Abundant Source. I've gotten a few requests in the past to talk a little bit about my dreadlocks and kind of how I've grown them. So that's what I'm going to talk about here. I've been growing these locks for around 3.5 years, I think. And I started growing them when my hair was just probably, I don't know, a few inches long, like not long at all. So I had really crazy, like Einstein hair when my hair first started locking up, because when it first started locking, my hair was only like not long at all, and I have really thick poofy hair, really curly hair, so it was just basically like this big thick like dreaded afro looking thing. So I wore like a hat most of the time just because it looked so silly. My hair looked kind of ridiculous for a long time. But yeah, I've had people just ask me like how I grow them and advice on growing them. So these are, for the most part, pretty much completely purely natural locks, as in I didn't really do anything except for in the first like 2 months when my hair was really short and I was just starting. I did take some like wool socks and rub my hair almost on a daily basis, just until I got like the first 2 locks started, and that way I was a little bit impatient because your hair will lock up if you just don't touch it. But I was like really, I don't know, I really wanted to just see results, I guess, and I was like, after I just get at least 1 lock in my hair, then I'm gonna stop with the socks. But I did use socks to like rub my hair to kind of frizz it up for about the first 2 months, and then after I got about 2 locks, I stopped and just let it freeform naturally, just not touching it, not combing it. And people seem to think that showering or washing your hair is not a good idea, and I stopped using shampoo or any sort of soap or anything like that when I shower before I even started my dreadlocks, so I've never used any sort of like shampoos or anything on it, just water. But when I got it wet, it seemed like my locks actually would dread up quicker. People seem to think that getting your hair wet is going to slow the process or stop it from happening, but in my experience it's kind of been the opposite, where every time I took a shower and then dried it out, then they would get even more like tangled and locked. But also, like I mentioned, I have really curly, thick, poofy hair and so it was pretty easy relatively for me to get them to dread naturally. But even if you have super straight hair, I mean, if you just don't comb it, it's going to start to lock together and get like frizzy and get kind of, like you sleep on it every night and then it gets sort of like a rat's nest or whatever. And no matter how straight your hair is, your hair will lock if you don't do anything to it long enough, like comb it and like run your hair or your fingers through it. And the reasons that I started locking my hair, first of all, the person that inspired me was, I can't remember anymore if this is his name, I haven't followed him in so long, but I think it's Mikkel from Sweet Natural Living. I didn't realize that if you didn't do anything to your hair that they would just naturally lock up, and so when I heard him talk about his dreadlocks and how that's like what naturally happens, I was sort of in this phase of like, I want to be completely all natural. I just want to like let nature do its thing and be as natural as possible. And so when I heard that your hair just naturally locks up if you don't do anything to it, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. When I first heard about it, I just like got this instant vision of like humans living in the jungle, and everyone just had super long dreadlocked hair and it was like eating fruit, climbing trees, and it was just this beautiful imagery that I had in my mind, and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And yeah, that's kind of that natural way of living that I want to have. And then as I started growing the locks, I started finding out more information, more like esoteric information, and how, you know, your hair is an extension of your nervous system, their antennas, and which I also have done a video in the past about, so you can also check that out. And yeah, just like energy receivers. And so that got me really excited about dreadlocks as well, is kind of more the spiritual aspect. And it just didn't really make sense to me why you would cut your hair or why you would mess with it in any way. I mean, I can see why, because of the programming that we have, but underneath all that, when I really just take a pure look at what we're doing, it doesn't really make sense to me to cut my hair. I don't know, I really like having long hair. I think it looks really cool. I think that it's really attractive to just have sort of a natural style of hair. So those are some of my reasons for why I grew dreadlocks. And I mean, my best advice if you want to grow freeform dreadlocks is just stop, you know, doing anything to your hair and just let it be. And if you live near like the ocean, then the salt water is super great for locking up your hair. Go swimming in the ocean like every day and your hair will lock up super quick. I find that just being around the ocean and just being like in the tropics where it's probably a little more humid, and it just feels like a more natural, jungly sort of environment. It just seems like every time I go to the tropics, I come back and my hair just like grew a crazy amount, and it's such a short amount of time. Like it just, I don't know, supercharges my hair growth. So get to the tropics and get in the ocean if you wanna grow super quick long dreadlocks. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions about freeform dreadlocks in the comments below, and I'll talk with you in the next video.